I knew I was screwed the moment Austin Wade called my entire cybersecurity team legacy assets we need to transition during Monday morning all hands. Not even 3 minutes into the meeting and I could already see my 28-year career getting flushed down the corporate toilet. The name's Nathan Morrison, by the way, 52 years old, and I've been protecting networks since before this kid knew what a firewall was. Austin was beaming from his corner office, that smug grin plastered across his face like he'd just discovered fire. His hair was too perfect for someone supposedly running innovation, and his voice had that MBA polished tone they teach you at business school. All buzzwords and zero substance. He clicked to a slide titled Digital Transformation Imperatives and announced we'd be moving to Agile Collaboration Protocols starting immediately. Translation: he wanted control of everything. People shifted in their seats. I just sat there because for the last 4 quarters, my AI intrusion detection system had caught every major threat that hit our network, saved the company millions in potential breaches. But apparently results mattered less than looking innovative to the board. Then came the real punch to the gut. All R&D prototypes and security algorithms, he said, must be uploaded to the shared enterprise repository. Full source code, technical documentation, development logs. My office will be consolidating all IP assets for patent optimization effective this week. That's when I leaned back and felt my jaw clench. This wasn't about collaboration. This was theft with a corporate PowerPoint wrapper. And if you think that sounds paranoid, you've never watched a trust fund MBA strip mine 28 years of your work while calling it synergy. Here's what Austin didn't know. For the past 18 months, I'd been building something revolutionary on my own time. A next-generation intrusion detection algorithm that could identify zero-day exploits in real time, something that would put any company 5 years ahead of the competition. I'd tested it against live threat feeds from my Air Force contacts, and it caught stuff our current systems missed completely. More importantly, I'd filed provisional patents on the core algorithms 4 months before Austin even walked through SecureCore's doors. Every line of code belonged to me, legally, completely, undeniably mine. I'd been careful, paranoid maybe, but careful. Used my personal equipment, my own internet connection, even my own cloud storage. Met monthly with Roy Sullivan, my old Air Force buddy who teaches cybersecurity at Arizona State, to document progress. Roy signed off as independent witness on development milestones I kept notarized. When you've spent 10 years in military intelligence, you learn to cover your tracks. I unmuted calmly. Does this apply to systems developed on personal time? Austin's smile got wider. Nathan, if you're building security solutions relevant to SecureCore's mission, we consider it within scope. Even if no company equipment or resources were used? He actually laughed. Look, if you don't like the new direction, you can always transition to retirement. Dead silence. Even Casey Phillips, our junior dev who still asks me how to configure firewalls, stopped typing. The whole room just froze. Me? I smiled back. Thanks for clarifying that. I closed my laptop, unplugged my second monitor, and walked out of that conference room like I was heading to lunch. No drama, no yelling, just a cardboard box in my hands and 28 years of experience walking toward the exit. Casey caught up with me by the elevators. Nate, what's happening? Where are you going? I looked at him, steady as concrete. Stay, watch, learn. I didn't slam any doors, didn't leave angry emails, just walked to my truck, placed the box next to a pre-sealed envelope, and drove straight to downtown Phoenix. The envelope was addressed to Patricia Kane, SecureCore's general counsel, and inside was something Austin never saw coming. The algorithm wasn't just some side project, it was the future of cybersecurity. AI-powered threat detection that analyzed network traffic patterns, user behavior anomalies, and code execution signatures simultaneously. Traditional systems looked for known threats. Mine predicted unknown ones. I'd started building it after watching SecureCore's legacy systems fail during a sophisticated attack 18 months ago. Our current defenses caught maybe 60% of the threats. Mine was testing at 94% accuracy with 0 false positives. It was game-changing technology. Austin had no idea what he was trying to steal. He just saw valuable IP and figured he could grab it. Problem was, I'd learned from watching other engineers get screwed over the years. Every commit was time-stamped on my personal Git server. Every breakthrough was documented with Roy as witness. Every major milestone was professionally notarized. The beauty of military training is that you always think 3 steps ahead. While Austin was playing corporate politics, I was building legal fortifications. But here's the thing that really burned me up. I'd offered to share the technology with SecureCore 6 months ago. Wrote up a proposal, scheduled meetings, presented the whole thing to Austin's predecessor. They said it was too advanced for current market needs and shelved it. So I kept building. On my own time, with my own resources, following every legal guideline to ensure it belonged to me. Because after 28 years of watching companies steal credit from engineers, I wasn't about to hand over the best work of my career for free. Austin was about to learn that lesson the hard way. The cease and desist letter landed on Patricia Kane's desk at 8:15 a.m. Tuesday. 6 pages of legal precision filed by Kane and Associates, citing specific components of SecureCore's upcoming product launch that directly infringed on provisional patents under my name. It wasn't a warning shot, it was a legal carpet bomb. Patricia called Austin's office at 9:30 a.m. I know, because Casey texted me updates throughout the day. Kid was smart enough to keep his head down and his ears open. Austin's response was predictable. The patents are just provisional. They don't mean anything until they're finalized. Poor kid. Because right about then, the second letter arrived from the U.S. Patent Office confirming that 3 provisional patents filed under Nathan A. Morrison had been formally accepted 4 months prior. Patent interference statutes were now in effect. Any continued use of the protected systems would constitute willful infringement. That word, willful, is legal dynamite. It means triple damages. By 11:00 a.m., Austin was sitting in a conference room with 2 attorneys and looking like someone had just told him Santa wasn't real. The company's entire cybersecurity roadmap was built on technology they didn't own. Worse, they'd been planning to demo it publicly in 6 weeks at the Southwest Cybersecurity Summit. The panic spread through SecureCore like malware through an unpatched network. Emergency meetings got called. The CTO pulled every engineer into damage control sessions. Someone leaked that they were scrambling to rewrite core security modules with just weeks to go before the big demo. Casey messaged me that afternoon. Austin's been locked in meetings all day. People are freaking out. What did you do? I was sitting by Tempe Town Lake watching ducks fight over sandwich crumbs and thinking about how 28 years of loyalty gets you nothing but a cardboard box and a condescending smile. Nothing illegal, I texted back. The real beauty of my position was the timing. Austin had been at SecureCore for exactly 7 months, brought in to revolutionize their cybersecurity offerings. His entire reputation was riding on the upcoming product launch. The board had given him a 12-month deadline to prove his worth, and he'd been bragging about breakthrough innovations that would put SecureCore ahead of the competition. Those breakthrough innovations? They were sitting in my personal Git repository, protected by patent law and documented with military precision. While Austin scrambled, I spent the next 2 weeks consulting with Patricia Kane's team about the technical details. They needed to understand exactly what technology was mine versus what SecureCore had developed independently. Turns out, the overlap was bigger than anyone realized. My algorithm wasn't just about threat detection. It included predictive analytics, behavioral pattern recognition, and adaptive response protocols. SecureCore's new platform used modified versions of all 3 components. Even their marketing materials described features that were essentially reworded versions of my patent applications. Patricia was thorough. She had their technical team reverse engineer the dependency chains in SecureCore's codebase. Every module that touched my algorithms got flagged. By week 3, they had a list of 47 critical functions that would need complete rewrites to avoid infringement. Austin tried fighting it. He hired an external IP attorney who argued that general cybersecurity concepts couldn't be patented. Problem was, my patents weren't for general concepts. They were for specific implementations, unique algorithms, and novel approaches to threat detection that I'd developed through 18 months of focused research. The external attorney lasted exactly 1 meeting with my documentation. Roy Sullivan had witnessed every major breakthrough. We had time-stamped videos of key development sessions. I'd even recorded myself explaining the logic behind crucial algorithms, with local radio playing in the background to verify dates. When you're building a case against corporate theft, paranoia is just good planning. Meanwhile, SecureCore's stock started sliding. Word was getting out that their flagship product launch might be delayed. Industry analysts were asking questions about their IP portfolio. Competitors started circling like vultures, sensing weakness. Austin's desperation became obvious during week 4. He scheduled a meeting with me through Patricia's office, claiming he wanted to discuss licensing opportunities. Translation: he finally realized he was screwed and needed to negotiate. I agreed to meet, not because I wanted to help him, but because I wanted to see how far he'd fallen. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Austin looked like he hadn't slept in days. His perfect hair was disheveled, his confidence completely shattered. He offered me consulting fees, licensing deals, even a promotion back to senior principal engineer with a 40% raise. "Nathan," he said, "we can work something out. You built great technology. We just want to use it the right way." I sipped my coffee and studied his face. 7 months ago, this same guy had called my team legacy assets and suggested I transition to retirement. Now he was begging me to save his career. "Austin," I said calmly, "you had your chance to do this the right way. You chose to steal instead." His face went pale. "It doesn't have to be like this." Actually, I smiled. It does. Because the demo was still 3 weeks away, and I had other plans. The Southwest Cybersecurity Summit arrived like a hurricane everyone could see coming, but nobody could stop. Austin showed up at the Phoenix Convention Center looking like a man walking to his own execution. His entourage of engineers, marketers, and one terrified intern trailed behind him, wheeling in branded banners and demo equipment for Booth 207. I wasn't there. I was watching from my new office at Guardian Tech Systems in Denver, where I'd been consulting for the past 2 weeks. But Casey kept me updated through encrypted messages, and honestly, I felt like I was watching my own personal Super Bowl. Secure Core had spent the previous 3 weeks frantically rewriting their demo platform. They called it Secure Guard Pro, stripping out any obvious references to my algorithms. Problem was, you can't just remove the foundation and expect the building to stand. Their threat detection accuracy dropped from 94% to about 60%. Their real-time response protocols became sluggish. The adaptive learning features completely disappeared. Austin stood at the podium in front of 500 industry professionals and announced Secure Core's revolutionary cybersecurity platform. For the first 30 seconds, everything looked perfect. The simulated network loaded, threat indicators began populating, and the audience leaned forward with interest. Then, reality hit. The first simulated attack was a basic SQL injection, something any decent firewall should catch immediately. Secure Guard Pro flagged it as suspicious activity but failed to block it. The second attack was a phishing attempt that slipped through completely undetected. By the third simulation, murmurs were spreading through the audience. "Is this supposed to be happening?" someone asked loud enough for the microphones to pick up. Austin kept smiling, clicking through his presentation like everything was normal. But sweat was forming on his forehead, and his voice was getting higher. The demo continued deteriorating. False positives started flooding the screen. The system flagged legitimate user logins as potential threats while missing obvious malware signatures. Casey texted me, "This is painful to watch. Austin looks like he's going to throw up." The coup de grace came during the advanced threat simulation. A sophisticated zero-day exploit that my original algorithm would have caught in microseconds sailed right through Secure Guard Pro's defenses. The virtual network got completely compromised while Austin stood there explaining how their cutting-edge AI was revolutionizing cybersecurity. A journalist from Cybersecurity Today raised her hand. "Mr. Wade, your platform just allowed a complete network breach. How does this represent an improvement over existing solutions?" Dead silence. Austin fumbled with his clicker, trying to restart the demo. "We're seeing some unexpected variables in the simulation environment." Translation: his stolen technology didn't work without the parts he couldn't steal. The audience started checking their phones. Competitors in the crowd were barely hiding their smirks. Austin's own technical team looked like they wanted to crawl under the stage. The demo limped through another 10 minutes of failures before Austin finally called it complete. The applause was polite but sparse. The kind you give to a high school play where everyone forgot their lines. Within 2 hours, the story was everywhere. Secure Core's demo disaster, when innovation theater meets reality. The Cybersecurity Today article was brutal. What happens when you build a platform on technology you don't understand? Wednesday's demo provided a masterclass in corporate hubris. But the real damage happened behind the scenes. 3 major government contracts that Secure Core had been pursuing got quietly shelved. 2 Fortune 500 clients requested immediate meetings to reassess their security partnerships. The company's stock price started sliding before the market even opened Thursday morning. Casey sent me screenshots of internal Slack channels. Engineers were updating their LinkedIn profiles. The VP of sales was asking HR about early retirement packages. Someone posted a GIF of a dumpster fire with the caption, "Current mood." Austin tried damage control. He scheduled press interviews claiming the demo had technical difficulties and that SecureGuard Pro would launch as planned. But industry insiders weren't buying it. Too many people knew about the patent dispute. Too many competitors were asking pointed questions about SecureCore's IP portfolio. The board of directors held an emergency meeting Friday morning. Austin wasn't invited. While SecureCore was imploding, my phone was exploding with opportunities. Guardian Tech had fast-tracked my consulting agreement into a full chief security officer position. The Pentagon reached out about a classified project. 2 startups offered equity packages for my algorithm licensing. My LinkedIn profile went from 400 connections to over 2,000 in 3 days. Industry publications wanted interviews about the patent case that shook cybersecurity. My algorithm, now properly branded as the Morrison Detection Protocol, was generating interest from companies across 6 states. The irony wasn't lost on me. Austin had called me a legacy asset who needed to transition to retirement. Now he was the one transitioning, straight out of a career. Casey called me Friday evening. Nate, Austin cleaned out his office this afternoon. Security walked him to the parking garage. The whole company's in chaos. I was sitting in my new corner office in Denver, reviewing contracts that would set my family up for the next decade. Through my window, I could see the Rocky Mountains painted orange by the sunset. "How's the team holding up?" I asked. Scared, but hopeful. Word is they're looking for an interim CISO. I smiled. "Casey, sometimes the best way to move forward is to bring back what actually worked." 6 months later, I was back in Phoenix for the annual Cybersecurity Excellence Awards. Not as an attendee this time, but as a keynote speaker. The Morrison Detection Protocol had become the gold standard for AI-powered threat detection, licensed to 23 companies across North America and generating more revenue than I'd made in my entire 28-year career. Guardian Tech had given me everything SecureCore never would: respect, resources, and recognition. My team of 15 engineers was developing next-generation security protocols for critical infrastructure. The Pentagon contract alone was worth $40 million over 3 years. My son's college tuition was secured, my wife's medical bills were covered, and I was finally building the legacy I'd always wanted. The irony hit me as I walked past booth 207, the same spot where Austin had humiliated himself and his company. This year it belonged to a startup, founded by 3 former SecureCore engineers, including Casey Phillips. They'd left after Austin's departure and were building innovative security solutions the right way. Casey spotted me during the lunch break. He looked good, confident, energized, wearing a company polo that actually fit properly instead of SecureCore's oversized corporate uniforms. "Nate," he jogged over with a huge grin. "Did you hear? We just closed our Series A funding, $8 million. I clapped him on the shoulder. "That's outstanding, Casey. What's the focus?" "Small business cybersecurity. We're using simplified versions of threat detection principles you taught me. All original development, all properly documented." He paused. "We learned from watching what happened to Austin." Speaking of Austin, I'd kept tabs on his trajectory. After SecureCore, he'd bounced between 2 startups that folded within months. His LinkedIn profile now listed him as a cybersecurity consultant, which in industry terms meant unemployed. The tech world has a long memory for failures, especially public ones. SecureCore had never recovered from the demo disaster. Their stock price dropped 14% over 6 weeks following the summit. 2 major clients terminated contracts. The board brought in a new CEO who quietly shelved all of Austin's transformation initiatives. They'd tried reaching out to me through intermediaries, offering consulting contracts and licensing deals, but I was done with them. My keynote went well. I talked about the importance of protecting intellectual property and building security solutions based on real expertise rather than marketing buzzwords. The audience, mostly engineers and CTOs, understood exactly what I meant. They'd all watched the SecureCore debacle unfold. During the Q&A, someone asked about dealing with corporate IP theft. I chose my words carefully. Document everything, work with qualified attorneys. And remember that patience is a weapon. Sometimes the best revenge is simply being excellent at what you do. The audience laughed, but they got the message. After my speech, a reporter from TechCrunch approached for an interview. She wanted to discuss how the Morrison Detection Protocol had disrupted the cybersecurity industry. I corrected her. It didn't disrupt anything. It just works better than what came before. Real innovation isn't about disruption. It's about solving problems that matter. She asked about Austin and the patent case. I kept it professional. Some people confuse taking credit with creating value. The market has a way of sorting that out. The real validation came from my peers. 3 former colleagues from my Air Force days were at the summit, now working for different companies. They'd all followed the story and wanted to congratulate me on fighting back. One of them, a retired colonel named Pete Hendricks, put it perfectly. "You executed a textbook flanking maneuver, Nate. Austin never saw it coming because he didn't understand the terrain." Military thinking applied to corporate warfare. Preparation, patience, and precise execution. That evening I called my wife from the hotel. She was doing well after her surgery, back to her usual energy levels. My son had just finished his sophomore year at Arizona State with a 3.8 GPA studying computer science. He wanted to specialize in cybersecurity, following his old man's footsteps. "How was the speech?" she asked. "Good. Really good. People are finally understanding that experience matters as much as innovation." "Austin? Still unemployed. Last I heard, he was trying to start a podcast about entrepreneurship." She laughed. "The world doesn't need another failed executive giving business advice." I looked out my hotel window at the Phoenix skyline, thinking about how much had changed in 1 year. Austin had tried to steal my life's work and ended up destroying his own career. I'd lost a job but gained a future. The best part? My technology was protecting networks across the country. The Morrison detection protocol had prevented dozens of major breaches, saving companies millions in damages. Real value, not just marketing hype. Casey texted me one final update. "BTW, heard Austin applied for a cybersecurity sales position at his old company's biggest competitor. They passed." I smiled and put my phone away. Some lessons take longer to learn than others. The next morning I flew back to Denver, to my corner office and my team of engineers and my legacy that no one could steal. Because in the end, that's what separates the builders from the thieves. Builders create things that last. Thanks for listening to this old soldier's story. Sometimes patience wins, sometimes experience beats politics, and sometimes the guy they called outdated turns out to be exactly what the future needed. Remember, respect the people who built the systems you depend on. They might just be the ones who can build something better.